2022, 6:30. And we're going to start the City Council meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Nordstrom.
Here.
Solomon. Here. Roberts. Here. Stroman. Here. Armstrong. Here. Jones.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Ham. Here. Evans.
Here.
Roseland. Here. We have a quorum.
Next up is an invocation by Pastor Greg Blanc, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Grateful to be here with you again, especially on this Christmas week. So, Merry Christmas. Better yet, Happy Birthday to Jesus. How about that? Okay. I just want to say thank you for your dedication and your service to the community. None of us out here want to be in your roles. We just want you to know that you're loved and you're respected and you're appreciated and you're prayed for. And with that, let's take it to the Lord. Father, we open this meeting inviting you and invoking your presence here. Let your grace and peace be evident to us all, especially in this season where Isaiah just gives you the attributes of wonderful and counselor and mighty God and everlasting Father and Prince of Peace. Those are things that we could all use right now. We're thankful for your love for the people of Rapid City and you just want what is best for us. We're pleased that we live in a state where our motto declares, under God the people rule. And as a community, we're grateful to the men and women that you have allowed to govern us. Give them your wisdom as they bear the privilege and the responsibility to lead the people of Rapid City, knowing their decisions impact so many people. Lord, I would pray that you would bless Mayor Allender and the city council members and the police and fire chiefs and the other officials here and their families as they serve the citizens of Rapid City. Amen. States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Motion by Jones, second by Nordstrom to adopt the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Agenda is adopted. Item 1 on the agenda tonight is a presentation by the Black Hill Showcase Chorus, directed by Gina Plooster. Ladies, thank you for being here. If you can hear me at all. Next on the agenda is item number 2, discussion regarding recent rapid creek flow reduction and Pactola Dam maintenance, and discussion of protocols for future events that require significant reduction in stream flows. This is brought by Laura Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. I just wanted to follow up on this, and thank you for allowing me to put this on the agenda. After extensive discussion with our city attorney, Joel Landine, last Friday, he advised me that the Bureau of Reclamation and the city will be talking or be in discussions this week, and I just thought it would be important to follow through with that, given that we had quite a response from our last meeting. So we should be awaiting the details from this discussion. And hopefully once we can, I was told, maybe possibly renegotiate our agreements, this would probably go through legal and finance and then work its way to council. So I just thought it would be important to bring that out to the public. And if we have any other comments from my colleagues, I'd appreciate it. And if not, we can just move on. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Councilwoman Armstrong, who is going to be sitting down and meeting again, please? Our city attorney's office and who else?
I was told that the city and Bureau of Rec would be sitting down and having discussions. I did find out from the president of the Black Hills Fly Fishers that the mayor actually reached out and had a pretty significant conversation last week. I don't know the details of that. But we're not looking to point fingers. We're not looking to cast blame. What we want to do, I think we can all agree, is that we don't want that to happen again. So I think that's going to be the point of the discussions, and we can just kind of move forward from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next on the agenda is general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. First up tonight, we have Jess Rogers.
Evening, thank you. I'm Jess Rogers. I just wanted to take a moment to say a brief thank you to all of you. I emailed you last week letting you know that Amy Sazu and I decided to organize a Christmas Eve dinner for residents of the Woods. Those are the complexes on North Maple Drive in Knollwood. As you know, there's been a lot of issues up there, and that's an area where I know the Rapid City Police Department has put in a lot of efforts reaching out to members of that community, and we wanted to help with that. So I've reached out to council members, I've reached out to the Rapid City Fire Department and the Rapid City Police Department, and you've all been incredibly generous in helping with this effort. Thanks to you, we do have a full dinner we can serve on Christmas Eve for those residents, and we will have presents we can give to the children who show up. So I just wanted to take a moment to say to all of you, Fire Department, Police Department, City Council, we really appreciate your generosity, and I'm so grateful to live in a community that consistently shows up for those less fortunate. So thank you all. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Jess. Merry Christmas. Next up, we have Darla Drew.
Well, hello, everybody, and season's greetings. Yes, I have nothing of great import to say except thank you. I want to thank everybody that serves on the City Council. After being off the council since last July, it's become very evident to me how much time it takes to serve and to serve well on the council if you're going to actually be a person that serves Rapid City. You have to study for meetings, then you have follow-up meetings, and more follow-up meetings from those meetings. You have others that are assigned to you, events, proclamations, the list goes on. And to get people of your caliber that will come out and run for office for what is not a lot of money makes me super proud. Just looking around Rapid City in the last few months, I'm particularly proud of the way that we treat the nonprofits and the less fortunate in our area. As I drove here tonight, I didn't see one unhoused person on the streets, and that made me feel very good. Maybe they are still there, but I did not see any, And that is an accomplishment that started like 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago when I got on this council. I mean, it was a lot of work, and we've all done that heavy lifting to make sure that we took care of the less fortunate. I also want to give a big shout out to the Parks Department for the beautiful decorations. I hear it not only from just friends, but people that are from out of town that just say they just can't believe how beautiful our city is, especially Halley Park is just so gorgeous this time of year. And it's not easy with the winds we've had. So thank you very much for doing that. And for the work that you guys do all year, you know, maybe you don't get a lot of kudos for roads or curbs or gutter or any of those kinds of things, but maybe, just maybe somewhere, somebody thinks, boy, this road is nice. You know, you don't hear it very often. You certainly hear the complaints, but maybe just every once in a while, you think, you know, we have some really pristine, good roads in our town. We can be proud of what Rapid City has done. And so thank you. The only complaint I would have, and I have to have one, is that I'd like to see more women on the council next year. So thank you for all your hard work. Have a happy new year, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Darla. Merry Christmas to you. Next up, non-public hearing items 3 through 43. We're going to open public comment for items 3 through 17. Don't have any. Going to go ahead and close that. Consent items 3 through 17. Would my colleagues like to pull any items from consent? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve 3 through 17.
Motion by Evans to approve 3 through 17, second by Stroman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Non-consent items 18 through 42. We're going to break these into chunks and reconsent them after 18. 18, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6556 regarding supplemental appropriation number 5 for 2022. Motion by Roberts to approve, second by Jones. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public Work Committee items, we're going to go ahead and group these 19 through 25 and approve them unless any of my colleagues would like to pull an item. Because of Public Works and Legal and Finance being canceled last week, they got published as such, so we're kind of regrouping them into consent items. So I don't have to read every single thing, and you don't have to hear my voice. Motion by Nordstrom to approve 19 through 25, second by Stroman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next group, motion passes. Next group, 26 through 36, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Just a comment on item number 24, the harvesting of the deer, to our Parks Director, if I may.
Of course, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. So in the past, when I've asked this question, I've been told that the meat goes to Feeding South Dakota, and you are taking or willing to accept donations to help pay for the processing of that. Is that still the case?
Yes, actually, that is the case. We'd be very happy to take donations to help out with this program. And yes, all of the meat that's harvested will go to Feeding South Dakota.
So if someone wanted to make a donation to help pay for that, how would they do that?
They could just send a check to City of Rapid City and send it to us, to the Parks Department, and we'll make sure that it gets to where it needs to go.
Make sure to note on the check or whatever it is that it's for the deer harvesting.
Deer harvest program, yes.
Okay. I would really encourage people to do so. We're going to be harvesting up to 250 deer this year, and the need is great, as always, for Feeding South Dakota. And if you are looking for another good cause to support this year at Christmas time and the holidays, that donation will go a long way. So thank you, Director. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Solomon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I pull item 26 and 27?
Of course. Any other items from my colleagues? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve 28 through 36. Motion by Nordstrom, second by Jones to approve 28 through 36. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Going back to item 26, approve Airport 2023 rates and charges. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I direct a question to our airport director?
Of course.
And I normally would have asked this question at the committee meeting, but with it being canceled, just bring it up here. Whenever we have changes to our rates, I just always request justification for those. In a general sense, can you talk about these rates and why they may be adjusted in some cases?
Member Solomon, members of the council, good evening. As we go through and we look at our rates on a regular basis, we work to try and keep those up to date with other facilities, but also looking at the needs just in general of what the airport has. So, obviously we've highlighted those rates in here that are in yellow with what has changed. And typically within that, we've done studies in the past to ensure that our rates are keeping up. We look at applying CPI to what's there based on the agreements that we have with everybody that allow for that. We look at and seek other rates within airports, within the communities, to ensure that we are in the ballpark of where we should be. The FAA does require that we are as self-sustaining as possible. It's part of our grant assurances as we sign every single grant that we accept in federal dollars. So based on that, they do expect that we do charge a rate and charge process as part of those grant assurances as well, and that it helps towards making us as self-sustainable as possible.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, some of these are market rate adjustments, some of these are inflationary, and some of these are cost of doing business in general?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may make a motion to approve this item and get a second, retain the floor.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Armstrong. The floor is still yours, Nordstrom.
Comment or question for Mr. Dame, please.
Of course.
Patrick, well, this is one of the first occasions that I've run across a rate change that I have not heard from the public on this. So I'm going to attribute to the communications that you've held with the vendors and the lessees at the airport. So it looks to me like an appearance that the communication was very fruitful, very, very good.
Thank you. Yes, we're very public about what it is that we do. We also do bid processes as well for some of what's there in terms of vendor related items as well.
And I appreciate letting them know ahead of time and so we don't get those emails and phone calls afterwards. So thanks for what you do out there. With that, Mr. Chair, I will yield.
Thank you, Mr. Nordstrom. Seeing no one else in queue, the motion on the floor is to approve the item. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item 27, motion passes. Item 27, approve resolution number 2022-091, a resolution emphasizing information technology security. And we go to Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I direct a question to our IT director, please?
Of course, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Gilbert, reading through the resolution, does this add anything new that we haven't done before? I noticed it was us like, yay, cybersecurity, and then I noticed the last line was authorizing you and the mayor to create policy. Is that anything new, or is this just reinforcing what we've already done?
It's more of a thank you for the question. It's more of a reinforcement of that commitment that we've made as a city towards cybersecurity, which we all must do. But also there are some formalizations. Like if you look in our ordinances, it lays out what the duties of IT is. It does not mention cybersecurity. Also, when we talk with the TSA at the airport or CGIS for the police, when they do a security audit, they need some sort of governance document pointing to the authority of who is the cybersecurity contact for that organization. So this is really more bookkeeping than anything different that we're doing on our end. But just to get it in there so that if an auditor were to ask what gives you the authority, we can point to this.
Okay, thank you.
Solomon, motion by Nordstrom to approve, second by Armstrong. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Community development items 37 through 39. Would my colleagues like to pull any of those three? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Ham, second by Nordstrom. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 40, approve the following list of 2023 alcohol beverage license renewals, which have been vetted and approved by the RCPD and the Rapid City Fire Department. Motion by Nordstrom to approve, second by Stroman. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? 41 and 42, mayor's items. My colleagues like to pull or discuss these items. If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Solomon to approve, second by Roberts. All in favor? Any opposed? 43, approve to direct city attorney's office to draft a resolution to prohibit use of TikTok on all city-issued devices, restrict access to TikTok on city networks, and prohibit city accounts on the TikTok platform. This is from Jason Solomon, who we will go to first.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll wait till somebody else makes a motion, but I just wanted to put out here why I added this to the agenda. Really, the long story short is this: the federal government has put out a lot of warnings regarding TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese-based company who are required to give that information to the Chinese government. And in fact, the U.S. Senate unanimously approved the federal employee ban of TikTok on their devices, which is not just phones, but also tablets and computers and whatnot. In addition, the state of South Dakota, through Governor Noem's executive order, banned TikTok on state-issued devices, as well as on networks and as well as accounts. And so really, with the federal government taking action and the state having already taken action, it just stood to reason that perhaps the city should consider doing the same. So what I did was I didn't put the resolution on here, but what I did was I put on here, do we all agree that we should direct the city attorney's office to work on a resolution for us to make sure that we are protecting the data of our citizens by banning TikTok. So I'll save the rest of my time in case there's any questions or comments, but just wanted to get that ball rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Mr. Jones.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So I think this is something certainly worth looking at. I would like to know more about, I understand my colleague's concern, and it's a very hot topic right now. As far as our usage and our components, I'd like to get a comment from our IT director, if we may, get his thoughts on this.
Of course, Mr. Gilbert.
Specifically about what we're using it for now, or just TikTok in general?
Well, are we using it as a city for anything that's endorsed by the city?
Yes,
anything
there are.
Worthwhile? So I'd like to know about that, and then I'd also like to know your comments about the safety and security of it from your chair, and do you believe it's something that we should consider creating a resolution and so on?
I had conversations with a few members of the council on this. So first of all, I do believe IT does not track social media, but I do believe fire has it, and I do believe the monument uses it for some advertising from time to time, although that might be through a third party, so it would be outside of the scope of this. We are not a heavily used, we don't use TikTok very heavily in the city. For maybe also solid waste might have a TikTok account. So we are not vested deeply into this particular technology, so it wouldn't, I don't think it would be an undue burden to remove it in that regard. My personal feelings on the security or non-security of TikTok are, it's difficult to find anything in the actual security journals about an instance or an actual smoking gun about the security of TikTok. Having said that, it's very easy to find several security measures that talk about not having unneeded or non-business related apps in your environment. And I certainly would feel that for the majority of our users, TikTok would fall within that category. So I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad thing to really be discussing this from that standpoint. The reason I don't personally view it maybe as much of a deal as others is coming with a background in working for the Army with the top secret clearance. When I view security all up, I don't view an app as more or less dangerous than the phone that that app is running on. And that phone, even though Apple or Samsung is owned by a non-Chinese company, is 90% or more created and developed in China. Those chips are put in China. So we had a much different approach to that in the Army. So I am looking more at this from a security level in the sense of, will this make the city a better place by limiting our exposure to software? I have no problem with the idea that this will do that. I think it will.
So, if I may continue, Chair, thank you. Well, I apologize, folks. I'm having a hard time talking tonight, which is very unusual. Oh, is there policy in place right now that discusses city employees and others downloading apps onto city-owned devices and what they can do, what they can't do, et cetera?
There is a computer usage policy. It is a little bit old, and it does not put any teeth to anything in that policy. That is what we are currently doing in IT, is when you start from pretty much ground zero, in terms of actual hard policies, they take a while to write. Now, that's not to say we don't block things constantly on the firewall, we don't investigate things and take threats away, but the actual documentation, no, we do not have a hard document at this point.
Do we have any way of knowing how many of our devices have TikTok on it?
I would prefer, if we were going to ask those kind of questions, we take those to an executive session. I do not want in an open forum to discuss what we can or cannot do within our security environment.
Understand. That makes total sense. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Laura Armstrong?
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. Before we move forward on this, this is a very complex issue. But I reached out to Nick Stroot to find out if we have a social media policy, and he assured me that we do. I have the same question that Mr. Jones has. Do we have any evidence that this is occurring, or we have somebody that's abusing this policy? So if we need to go into an executive session to find out the answer, so be it. Because at this point I feel that it is just a human resources issue. I have a unique perspective. I've got 2 daughters going to Dakota State University. Actually, I have 1 daughter in South Korea right now studying Asian cybersecurity issues. They both, not that they're experts by any means, but they're TikTok users and they're in this profession. They don't think it's an issue. The fact that we have city departments utilizing it, police, fire, library, the monument, I believe they're using it to share events that we're doing, as well as promote community engagement, which tends to be lacking. So I think if we can get anyone to be more involved with city government, I think that is a good resource. But I think that the way it was explained to me is that the majority of social media apps like Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, they also do these things. They gather data, and they can sell data as well. So I believe the larger issue would be, do we just ban all social media? I don't know. I think it's important to be involved in this, listen to the professionals like Director Gilbert, but just at first blush, this really just appears to be a solution in search of a problem. So I'll yield my time. Thanks.
Ms. Armstrong. Mr. Evans?
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. In light of the fact that we just passed number 27, resolution beefing up our resolve for following this sort of thing, I don't see this as necessary for mainly this reason. When you single out one, you kind of implicitly say the rest are all good. And I don't like that idea because frankly, I don't see any reason for many of these things or any of these things on 99% of our devices. So I'm going to not support this one tonight, and hopefully all of these security issues can be handled in an HR and an IT department sort of level rather than specifying one thing. So I am concerned with the implicit endorsement of everything not TikTok. So that would be my reason for opposing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Stroman.
Thank you, Chair. Since we didn't have a legal and finance meeting last week, I'd like to make a motion that this be referred to legal and finance and have that discussion take place then and get a recommendation from legal and finance after they've had a chance to go through this. So that's my motion, to refer it to legal and finance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stroman. The motion on the floor is to move this back to legal and finance, second by Evans, but we still have some folks in the queue. Just as Deputy Director, Jim?
The one thing I would point out is certainly what Councilman Solomon brought forward is valid in this regard. We may be forced to do this in very short order. There's certainly some indication that if this gains traction in the Senate, it could be applied to grant receiving. Just as anything else in cybersecurity is being more and more pushed towards the grants that the government is giving out. We saw that earlier this year with the TSA just automatically implementing a security policy. So I would say that it to put everybody's mind at ease, it is not an undue burden on IT, whatever policy decision you make. And be certain that the mechanism that TikTok uses to, for lack of a better word, harvest data, does not put the sensitive data of the city or of the citizens of the city at risk, in my opinion. We have made a delineation between those things. So that's one point I would like to put out there, that it's not an undue burden on us if we decide to block it, but we have also taken safeguards to block the important data that we protect from not just TikTok, but any other social media platform that's out there. So.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Solomon?
Thank you. I appreciate the discussion, everybody. While I think there is a discussion to be had regarding social media, this is really bigger than the social media policy. This is about the fact that a Chinese-owned company who is required by their law to give that any information on data and network, including keystrokes, all sorts of things, to that government, that's what this is about. And this isn't out of nowhere. The federal government, FBI, FCC, now the Senate, we know it's going to go to the House, and the state of South Dakota. When the state of South Dakota, when Governor Noem took that executive action, that was enough that should gather the when she took that, when she made that order, it should get the attention of all local governing bodies to say, is that something we should consider? When the state does something and the federal government does something, it should, as an instinct, say to the city or a county or whomever, should we be taking similar actions? And what would be the argument for keeping it? I see really no good argument for keeping TikTok when all of the other experts are saying not on federal devices, not on state devices, and certainly it shouldn't be on city devices. It is really cut and dry. This should be a really easy decision. All of the members of Legal and Finance are here right now. I've attached a little bit of a memo trying to answer some of the commonly asked questions I received. And since then, there's been even more traction. So really don't think it has to be all that controversial. Rapid City should not have TikTok on its devices. We should not have accounts, and we should not have access on our networks, not just because of the social media aspect, but because it's owned by a Chinese-based company, and they are required by law to give that information to China. And so in that sense, I think it's important for us to take the action. I didn't even draft the resolution. I actually just said, do we agree on this, that they can draft it, let the staff work on drafting something Then it can come back here for a vote, and we could decide yes or no at that time. So right now, we're just directing staff to do something. We're actually not creating the policy yet itself. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't think this has to be very difficult. I don't think you have to think much about this at all. Apparently, it is a little bit controversial, but it should not be. It should be a simple, easy decision for the good of Rapid City and our state and nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Mr. Gilbert?
And I would like to add that I had a conversation with Mr. Solomon at one point, and we're both on board with the idea that this resolution, whatever it comes out to be, if it happens or not, the real meat of it will be a collaboration between us and the city's attorney's office to make sure that when we write this, we do it in such a way that doesn't, pardon the pun, but handcuff law enforcement if they need to use TikTok for a criminal investigation or anything like that. So we will make sure that we apply the same policies and procedures and exceptions to this that we do to other things based on mitigation of risk. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, cybersecurity is about mitigation of risk.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Nordstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I look forward to this discussion taking place at Legal and Finance. So I hope everybody approves that motion, because I think there's a lot of information that's being left out. The additional information we need to discuss should probably take place at Legal and Finance, and I want to respect Mr. Gilbert's request that anything as far as the security is should be discussed in executive session. And then the other issue that I have is that if the city employees have got enough time to do social media, we're doing something wrong. It isn't just TikTok. There's other social media that I don't understand why if the city employees have got that much time to spend on social media, it doesn't make sense to me. So, and I do want to add a couple of other things, but I want to save that for Legal and Finance. So if you will approve that motion going to Legal and Finance, I have some more additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nordstrom. Seeing nobody else in the queue, the motion on the floor is to move the item back to Legal and Finance for further discussion. Correct. That is correct, Mr. Jones, for the Legal and Finance meeting on the 28th of December. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. One opposed from Jason Solomon. Motion passes. Public hearing items 44 through 48. We're going to open the public hearing comment. I don't have any, so we're going to close that. Consent public hearing items 44 and 45. My colleagues like to poll either or discuss them, or I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Roberts, second by Jones to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Non-consent public hearing items 46 through 48. 46, second reading of ordinance 6543, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Ferber Engineering for Dakota Storytellers LLC for a planned unit development zoning district, and to authorize the mayor, community development director, and public works director to sign the PUD zone document for property generally described as being located east of North Lacrosse Street and north of Mall Drive. Recommendation is to approve. Motion by Jones to approve, second by Evans. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 47, second reading ordinance 6555, an ordinance amending section 1706 of chapter 17 of Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by FMG Engineering for Ryan Tobin for a rezoning from general commercial to office commercial for property generally described as being located north of Camden Drive east of East Anamosa Street. Motion to approve by Evans. Second by Solomon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 48, approve resolution 2022-077 for a vacation of right-of-way for property generally described as being located between Vale Street and St. Anne Street. Recommendation is to approve. Motion by Roberts, second by Solomon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 49, the bills list. Tracy?
There are no changes to the bill list. The total is $8,265,145.59.
Motion by Jones to approve, second by Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Motion passes. Motion to adjourn by Armstrong, second by Evans. We're adjourned.